I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. That's from Job chapter 19. Job is in a desperately painful situation. In a very short space of time, he's lost his wealth, his family, and his health. To add insult to injury, his friends are suggesting that he's done something to bring this suffering upon himself. And yet somehow, in the midst of all of this suffering, Job finds a glimmer of hope of a Redeemer. In Advent, we remember that we're waiting, and of course we're waiting for the arrival of Christmas, but it's also a helpful reminder that we are waiting for the return of Jesus. Job says, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And this idea seems to lift Job out of his circumstances for a moment, to imagine something glorious. I wonder what it is that Job knows about this Redeemer that causes him to be utterly captivated by the idea that one day he will see him face to face. There's a beautiful scene in the novel Ben-Hur, when Ben-Hur has been falsely accused of attacking someone and he faces life as a galley slave. He's mistreated, exhausted, and thirsty, and this is when he meets Jesus for the first time. Jesus gives him some water, and the author describes Jesus' eyes as so soft, so appealing, so full of love and holy purpose that they had all the power of command and will. The spirit of the Jew, that's Ben-Hur, hardened though it was by days and nights of suffering, and so embittered by wrong that its dreams of revenge took in all the world, melted under the stranger's look and became as a child's. Is that how you imagine it will be to see Jesus face to face? That everything you've been struggling will melt away under his affectionate gaze. No wonder Job's heart yearns within him. I was once given some advice about throat sweets and to avoid the kind of throat sweets which numb the pain. Now you'd think that if something hurts, then taking the edge off of the pain would be a good thing. But actually, if you've got a sore throat because you've been straining your voice with shouting or too much singing, actually the pain is a really helpful reminder that you need to rest your voice so as not to make things worse. The pain shows that there's a problem so that you can take appropriate action, in this case, to rest your voice. We don't always yearn to see Jesus face to face. And I wonder whether this is in part because we engage in all kinds of numbing activities. They take the edge off of our desire for God. We try to satisfy ourselves with lesser things. I think that's especially true when life seems difficult or painful. Traditionally, Advent has been a time for fasting and prayer, which seems unbelievable now when it's a time for feasting. Actually, fasting can be a really helpful thing to do. It allows us to sit with our desires, our hunger, our longing, rather than immediately numbing them. Instead, we direct that desire towards God. Even though we're already part-way through Advent, you might want to consider what you might like to do by way of a fast. If it feels safe for you to do so, you might want to think about fasting a meal or a particular type of food. Or you may want to choose fasting TV or scrolling through your phone for a set amount of time each day or week. It means that we sit with our feelings, our longings, even for just a short amount of time, rather than numbing them in the way we usually would. Of course, our true longing is for Christ. We were created to enjoy and be satisfied in our relationship with him. Perhaps as we pause some of these numbing activities, we might remember that there's something glorious ahead. Maybe it will awaken afresh in us a desire to know Jesus more, until one day we see him face to face.